Os minasan, McMegane here, and today we are back with kind of like an update to my tier list on these standard right lines, not including collab right lines. And today I decided to do something that I haven't been doing since my DBT05 tier list, and that is actually re-ranking everything properly. The reason I didn't re-rank last time for the past few main booster is because of the fact that I feel there's not a lot of heavy shift in the power level, but I was wrong after went through a few locals and everything. So I think it would be high time to actually judge it correctly. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content or agree with my entry in this list, do leave down in the comments below whether you guys agree or not, or you prefer it to be this other way. And also like and share this video, and hit that subscribe button to keep up with all my notification, and ring that bell to keep up with all the notification, as that will really help me. And for those who already do so, thank you so much. And without further ado, let's get into the classics. Nirvana. This is no doubt for me an S tier deck. Yeah, we are starting strong here. Personally for me, Nirvana is still a very powerful all-rounder deck where it has everything that it needed. It has resource card from Amelia and Arcs, it has offensive power from Maha and also Escuridea with the restand. And in general, I think it is a very well-paced deck in terms of like its gameplay look. And that is the reason why I wanted to put it at the top, because not a lot of decks are that consistent when it comes to defending and offensing as much as Nirvana does right now. Next up, we have Eugene, and oh boy, Eugene is a brand new hot blood joining to D rank.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Sorry, not D rank, B rank. D rank is my get help tier. B rank in my Eugene in my opinion gets a lot better over time because of the fact that rearguards matters more now in the higher tier deck, and not a lot of deck has a resist, so Eugene can kind of get past some of this restriction. And not only that, in BT07 he did get Oswald, which is a very powerful restander for Eugene himself, which does have premium application as well, with the heart and everything. So yeah, because of just that few cards, and also of course the grade 3 promo that does help you to restack the card to the top of the deck, allowing you to call into Escuridea for more attacks. But yeah, in general, Eugene has become much more consistent, much more aggressive now. The only problem that kind of holding back from going A tier is just simply he still have the same issue that he used to have back when he wasn't very good, which is, required to restore rear card to retire one, need a rear card to actually trigger many of the effects. But yeah, in general, I think Eugene is very well balanced deck now after like 7 booster. So I'm glad for Eugene mains. You actually can stand proud. The deck is actually very good right now. Okay, let's moving on to Overlords, and Overlord is gonna be in the same tier as Eugene, but I'll put him higher than Eugene in the sense that Overlord's restanding capability is a lot more consistent. Right now, both of the decks are more or less similar in the sense that Eugene has a focus more on retiring while have a secondary restanding effect. Overlord has a focus on restanding with the retiring as a secondary effect, and we can see which one is better here. If your deck is focused on retiring rear guards, if your opponent don't have a rear guard, you kind of screw. But Overlord can keep the pressure consistent, though it does depend on the build you go for as well, because certain builds are very painful because you need to ride into the Overlord first, then you ride into the end, which unlike Blaster, they do not have a card that can put into Soul that actually trigger the ability and everything. So that's why it is still in B tier, but it is one of the strong A rank contender, but just that there are more than 10 decks in the A rank tier already, so I need to compromise. Next up, we have Baksagra, and this is gonna be a surprise for a lot of you because I have been putting Baksagra consistently on and on A tier, but personally for me now, it's gonna be in the B tier as well. It dropped a rank, mainly because of the fact that so for the past 2 booster, BT6, BT7, Baksagra didn't really receive a lot of powerful support. I know FF2 is pretty okay, but the thing is that the deck still more or less play the same game loop without really has a lot of things to really kind of make it spice it up. And not only that, the over reliance on certain arms and everything really make it painful for her, especially she do not have ability to search directly for arms unless without the Namoka. And when I say search, such also I mean Aditya, which is the lens. So yeah, in general, I think Basakura should have been dropped much earlier, based on a lot of comments from my friends. But I feel like it is still a strong deck because of the fact that it can hit a really high number very consistently. Kind of like a Scrape Saga with a bit more focus on retire. So she's still in like a very good deck tier. Next up, we have Tamara, and okay, this I'm gonna consider the PR, as it should be releasing this month. And personally, for me, this is a straight up lobby. The problem with Tamara right now is all about the setup. The order fixed the problem, not completely. It does have similar issue with the chaos, where it does have some reliance on the order to actually get the gameplay consistent. And that's a problem with the deck right now, because Riri and Rarami requires lots of soul blast, while Tamara kind of needs a soul.
No, he's got a point.
So you need to play a lot of cards that put it into the soul, but Dragon Empire are not exactly the most powerful when it comes to just put things into soul. And whatever they did give out for Tamara, it's just a little bit short of good, at least in my honest opinion. Of course, the fact that the order can add the glitter cards back from the drop is insane as well, but it's still not enough to really pull Tamara up to compare against like the higher decks in this list. But things may change when BT08 comes around. Okay, next up we have Jiwa, and Jiwa didn't change much. I put her in top B tier, and she's still kind of a top B tier deck because of how mid BT07 support is. She did get Urbago, which is a decent retire option, a decent player dragon option to go into, because it's helped to get rid of annoying regard on the opponent field and also +1 soul. But Boom was very mid. Like, personally for me, the 3 original or crossover race was a lot. It is a nice triangle of balance. Boom feels like a middle of Garo and Braum, and unfortunately he's not able to specialize in either of the skill. But the fact that now Jiwa does have a proper retire option is not a bad thing, because against certain matchup it can be very crucial. And yeah, that's why I still decided to put her in the high B tier. It's still a good deck to bring into the tournament and fight without like feeling guilty of like making my opponent quit because of bot sack and everything like that, you know. So yeah, it's very solid, and surprisingly all Dragon Empire deck are pretty good, isn't it? Okay, let's move on to Bruce, which is Dark States. And Bruce, in my opinion, is gonna be a first A tier in this list. It will get up just later, but in general, I would say BT06 support allow him to play grade 3 turn, but with all the new decks that does have a better speed and better consistency that can rush on turn 3 also, Bruce does became a little bit weaker in that aspect. And I feel that the fact that it is still a turn 4 deck is really painful for him. Like, the fact that a lot of they can rush on turn 3 now make it even more painful of the final rush problem. But we are getting a new Bruce in next year, March, I believe.
Nice.
So definitely looking forward to that. I want to see how the new Bruce actually fare compared to the original Bruce and the Unravel and everything. Next up we have Magnus, and I wanted to put him in S tier, you know, but he's the high A tier. He is like a proper high A tier now, and that is all because of one single card, Lilac Rusher, and maybe McMegane reverse, that which allow you to play a bit more of like heavy soul charge game without carrying a few extra copy of Magnus in the deck. But in general, what Magnus become and gotten in BT07 is that now it has a unit that can swing really high number, which actually ignores opponent's shield a bit more. So what I mean is that Lilac Rusher is able to hit such a high number that it is capable of forcing opponent at least 2 to 3 cards from their hand, which is a very great thing. And that's an initial problem that I feel Magnus do have, because of the fact that the only good thing about Magnus is that it's a fast 5 attack deck, but it doesn't have a lot of punch the opponent pull defensive. And when I know defensive kind of screw a lot of decks, but Baro hurts a lot more because of the fact that he don't really run, a lot of deck lists don't really run personal rights. So the fact that there is something that can mitigate not running personal right, and at the same time it has a unit that can hit for a really high number like Security level number, really makes this deck finally hit at the top A tier. Unfortunately not hitting S tier yet, because there are better decks out there right now. Okay, we move on to Gridon, and Greedon, in my opinion, kind of still in the C tier deck. Like, it has, in the right build, right combination, it can do a lot of things, and the promo really helps. But he still has a biggest problem that a lot of very gimmicky boss unit does have, and that is the fact that his costs are just way too high. Like, if you guys don't know what Greedon does, it eats 4 standing rear guards to restand 1. The Vanguard and then swing, and this cannot be once. This is not restricted to once per turn, so it's still a very fun deck to me. It still can be very scary if you know how to play it right. But the fact that a lot of the support that came out doesn't really completely fix the issue that he does have, kind of hurt him quite a bit. And we haven't seen proper support for him for quite some time already. Like, the only proper one that we have seen was the Quexi, the alligator in BT06. And now he's in the stage where I feel he is too slow compared against to other decks that can rush better. Next up we have Chaos, and Chaos is always gonna be at the bottom of B tier for me. Like, it's a gateway from C to B in the sense that its playstyle already discourages you from actually playing the game consistently already because of the Highlander mechanic, but it does get more consistent. And now Chaos did get a few more options with the Transrotor support, which actually make it easier for him to get 13 without fully rely on his order. But just like Tamara, I do feel that you need to wait and see what BT08 has in store for the rest of the glitter archetype to see whether it's getting better or not. But for now, he's gonna be in perpetually lower B tier. Oh, and one thing I need to mention, don't underestimate playing against this deck, because if this deck starts to high roll, you can beat him, the person can beat you by turn 3. Like, when I say high roll, I mean like really high roll. And that high roll percentage is starting to slowly going up, so that's why I'm still keeping it below B tier. All I can say is don't underestimate it. I know I repeat myself, but you know. Okay, then move on to an interesting one, which is the Drajevel, which get a huge support in BT07. And you know what? I'm gonna put him in low A tier. Not as good as... Okay, I think like he's a bit better than Bruce now, in the sense that his ability is very powerful. The problem with Drajo right now is that he is extremely piece reliant. He needs the card that selectively soul charge a lot because, you know, different grades and everything, and he needs rock outgo for his offense. So in general, his deck are very powerful when everything is there for you, but will drop in offense by a lot if you didn't manage to get everything that you needed. As someone who has been playtesting Drajo for close to 2 weeks now, I dare say that he is powerful, but a few of his flaws really drag him down from me putting him in a high tier. Any higher at least he's in A tier, which means that like he's strong already, but like it's just that being too key piece reliant is just very painful for him. Just like one of the other deck that I will be putting in the A tier later. Okay, we finished the dark stats and let's move on to the Keter Sanctuary. We're starting off with Bastion, and you know what? S tier. Okay, here's the reason why I'm putting him into an S tier. It's because of the fact that the BT07 support that he gets allow him to be more aggressive. It does have more draw option, and essentially they give a new support that doesn't heavily force Bastion to rely on Dark Strain or Pyro Protect, which is a great thing. And not only that, they got Decorada, the OT beater. The fact that Bastion now can high roll and really beat through any type of defensive is really insane. Like, except for the PG lah, but like, you know, PG only, a lot of people only have like up to 4, so the fact that he can beat through any type of defense is insane. And now that he get a new support that really properly boosts him, he finally jumped back. And also he has a card that allow him to intercept from back row, so his shield value are not as problematic as it used to be. But he does still have some problem, even I'm putting him in the S tier. It's the fact that it does still high roll on driving into grade 3, but you know, that's not the biggest problem in Bastion. But yeah, overall, I think Bastion gets enough cards that finally can compete with some of the top deck and really push the top deck to the brink of losing their position as well. Not against a number 1 though. Okay, next up we have Hexorb. I already mentioned this in BT06, but C tier. So I'm still stand by my opinion on the Hexa Orb being extremely resource reliant. Even if, like I said before, with the right build, you can do it properly. You can actually win the whole tournament with it. But the fact that the fundamental problem of Hexa Orb is still there doesn't mitigate the problem. Yes, there is a few new cards that really make Hexa Orb a little bit more insane, but none of them really fix the Hexa Orb issue of lacking in resource. Next up, we have PBO, and I feel like I haven't really give this deck prof enough, so I'm just gonna give it now. This will be the first encounter deck to go into A tier. I will put him... Yeah, they are roughly in the same tier, to be honest. The biggest plus from the PBO is the fact that it works well with almost every support that the Cater has been released for the past few boosters, and not only that, Cater support are getting more and more cracked over time. So this deck get more boost as well, and the deck itself has been very consistent with, you know, the cards like the main to put PBO into soul, PBD into soul to trigger PBO crit, additional crit, and the deck always a consistent 4 attack that has a very heavy swing for area attack. I feel like it is fair to actually finally give them a proper recognition because it is very similar to one of the top tier deck I'll be putting on the A tier list later on. Then we move on to the last encounter right line at the moment, and that's Majesty Lord Blaster. Yeah, this thing is a C tier deck. I mean, the problem with the deck is that it does do a lot of things, but it requires 2 specific units, which is not exactly something that is very cool or like very effective in the current meta. And it only works well against certain deck if like they are being greedy. MLB can kind of strike back, but the fact that you need the opponent to actually misplay kind of shows that this deck needs a lot of help at the moment. And it's also a 3 attack deck that doesn't really have a lot of power stacking like, you know, Bakrasava or Soga, for example. So yeah, in general, that's why I still feel MLB is short of being good right now. And I'm just talking about the right line, not the hybrid build I have seen online with like PBO in general. Okay, next up we have Tegria, and this will be considering the new promo that she got, and she thick again. She became thick, she became good again. And personally for me, she is in the low A tier above Dragewell. Here's the reason why. The Persona right boost and draw really makes it for me, and not only that, just like PBO, Tegria scales extremely well with all the Keter support that they have been receiving, especially that new grade through that help you to get a free Persona copy. That card is insane on Tegria because you technically can have both version of it, I think, if I remember correctly. And the fact that that grade 2 doesn't force you to call the greater unit to the Graveyard Circle is actually pretty good. One thing I surprised about BT07 is that they actually make Persona like relevant again. The deck still get faster, but turn 4 became very reset. Like BT06 make everything faster, BT07 make it worth preparing it for turn 4. So very interesting way of shifting the meta and the support in general. But yeah, Tegria is very good now. So does the next entry, Duisberg. And Duisberg, I'm gonna put him into the same tier as Dragewell, like in the beside each other. So at least Rika feel nice being beside Michio for once. So the reason why I put Duisberg in the A tier now as well is mainly due to 2 cards. Tempest, or I would like to call him the Matcha, and Sequana, which essentially just reset any of the Rebel form drive back to 1 when it was used by the Skyfall effect. And in general, that exactly is the 2 cards that really improve Duisberg from being very lacking in certain things, become extremely balanced in everything. It has a strong filter, it has a strong draws now, it can counter charge, and it has a very effective 4 attack decks. And now even more powerful with Sequana, which reset the drive, which makes things like Guts more worthy to play as it turned the drive from 1 to 2. And Tempe is just simply fantastic card, even if the control option of the card is a little bit extra. But yeah, overall Duisberg became very powerful deck within 1 booster, and that's kind of insane. Next up we have Pure Light, and oh boy, this is one deck that I didn't expect to drop hard.
NANI?!
Like, I didn't believe it. I was on a bit copium on BT06 that, oh wait, it's actually, the BT06 is still okay. But after have a chance to play against Prison in the actual tournament and talking to the person who regularly use Prisons, it's dropped to B tier, man. It's still high B tier, but it dropped to B tier from S tier. The main reason is because of the fact that turn 3 Seraph is just really hard for them, because if opponent just do the no rear guard kind of run, they can really bind a lot of stuff. Yes, they do have option like Macalite and the Cup Spring, but that's the build that you need to build specifically into. Other than that, it does have a very slow turn 3, like very painfully low, even more slow than Magnolia Grade 3, which initially I don't like it a lot because of the fact that it seems to be slow, it seems to be very restrictive. But now I've realized that that is not as bad as turn 3 Seraph now. The Prison, everything is still strong. The moment you can get into grade 4 is still strong. But I think against some of the higher tier deck right now, the deck is just deck stuck to 3 attacks, kind of painful. But she still have a niche, and that is a guard restrict that can bypass everything. Like, if you don't have a trigger to guard that unit, you are fucked. Next up we have Regis, and yeah, Regis is one of the top 8 tier I was talking about. I'm gonna put it here, like somewhere here, I guess. The thing about Regis is just simply boils down to the fact that it has what Barrow has, like 5 attack with a very chunky columns. But for Regis, it does have one problem of running orders. And one big problem with running order is that if you cannot use those orders as fast as possible, it's just a break in your hand. And that office problem is still there. Sure, they do have some defensive option, but it is not enough to beat up against some of the strongest member of the Overdress right now. And that's why I put him in lower than Tegria and Barrow Magnus, but he's still strong enough to compete against these top 7 decks at the moment. And then we have Gravidia, which, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm gonna put her like here, I guess. With a personal bias, I will put Barrow Magnus higher, but Gravidia is just a brain dead deck that kind of stagnate now. Like, now she's facing the problem that Bastion faced back in BT01 to BT03 because of the fact that her gameplay loop became so strong now in BT04 that giving her new support just not gonna fly, because those new support need to dump the power level down for Gravidia. So Gravidia has been on the same playstyle for the past close to a year already, I think, and because of that, it is a perpetually stay in A tier until there's a deck that can beat it consistently, I guess. The deck has everything that Nirvana has without a multi-attack and replace it with a double trigger skill, which is dumb.
Why you booing me? I'm right!
And we have another Vanguard deck in the tier list. Wow, that's a lot of it, doesn't it? And that's Eva. I mean, I'll put Eva in a bit higher than Gravity, I guess. To put it just mildly, what Eva can do is that... Okay, actually, that's a bit too high. I'll put him here, yeah. Eva has... Eva I would call a proper all-rounder for Vanguard. She has the offense from Obscure, swing very high number with additional crit on some of them. She has ability to search for the card that she needs the most with her skill. And that with grade 1 research carry the deck so much. It makes Eva become a very scary deck because of the fact that she can early rush, she scale well into the late game, and the only thing that she's kind of missing right now is a bit more power, and that is just like very nitpicking. Actually, I will put her a bit higher than this. But yeah, like in general, Eva became so strong, and I think different fight craze also really proven the world that Eva with the order is actually pretty insane, and that's why she stay in the A tier compared to the last tier list. Then we move on to the Dynamo. This is gonna help. There's no new support for this card from BT07, so he's gonna stay there until he gets a proper support. Then we move on to the interesting one, the Stoic Player. Starting off with Magnolia. And last time I put Magnolia in S tier, and a lot of people seem to complain because of the fact that it's weaker now with the restriction. But the final ranking I would give this, and I think I will need to shift some of the deck down because, you know, I feel now that I'm comparing these two and Bruce together, Magnolia makes it to top 8. The thing is that Magnolia now became a turn 4 deck, but at least he can play turn 3. And when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about Elder, I'm talking about the grade 3 persona right build, which they seem to focus on, because Magnolia got 3 new cards that is really powerful. Sorry, not really 3 new cards, 2 new cards and 1 card that he lost access to, but now is back with the fact that you don't run Elder. One is that Inlet is playable in the grade 3 Magnolia, means that you can do the Magnolia Elder thing with more restriction, of course. Then the second thing is the Alpaca. Alpaca, counter charge, soul charge, and just get a huge stack of power, which is something that Magnolia needs for the longest time. And then the last one is the grade 1 card. The grade 1 that helps to search for Magnolia and allow all the persona right boosts to be applied to Regis as well. This makes cards like Inosulas, Lattice, and essentially just it makes every single attack for Magnolia really buff. And it's actually very insane now. Plus the fact that you can have multiple attacks that can swing for a really high number. Yes, it became bigger. Like if you ask me now that I know, understanding everything, before BT07, his proper position is high B. But now, he's in the proper A tier, and I think he's actually stronger than some of the deck here. Yeah, this is where Magnolia I will be putting. Okay, we move on to Zolga, and Zolga is gonna be like high B tier, still lower than like those that was in the higher tier, but he's still a deck that is very consistent. Didn't change too much from the BT6 and BT7, so I'm not gonna go into much detail, but in general, he is like Bagasawa with more heavy focus on reviving and orders. So yeah, then the new entry, and I feel like this will be a proper last A entry of this list, Flagberg. Yes, I'm willing to value Flagberg this high. It's because of the fact that now his rush became more consistent than ever. His rush was already consistent back in like BT06, but I think with all the new support and everything, it makes his rush a lot more consistent. Especially now that he has a second kind of inlet pulse like with the grade 2 that can withstand. And then he has a grade 1 that allow him to activate his cards for free, which means it's just a counter charge one. And all the old support, instant support that he used to have is still there, including Blue Artillery Dragon. And in the latest version of this deck, you don't even need to run Blue Artillery Dragon already because of how consistent Flagberg already is right now. He currently can easily beat down 80% of the deck in the A tier and most of the deck in the lower C tier as well, as long as he Blue Inlet, that is. And yeah, that's pretty much why. The thing is that for me, I think Flagberg was very powerful but lacked inconsistency of making 5 attack without too much resource. Now that he can make 5 attack with little to no resource, I mean not completely no resource, but you know, with small enough of a resource to really rush properly, Flagberg became extremely competent as a right line, and that's why I want to kind of honor him in the A tier. I mean, let's be real, Stoic here has been eating well since BT06. Okay, next up we have Rorowa, and Rorowa is gonna be, yeah, they're gonna sit beside each other in the glitter tier because they are strong but they have some glaring issue, but not as bad as decks like Hexa or Gridon. Then last we have Lineon, and Lineon is one of the contender for me to the A tier, but she kind of miss it. So in general, I would put it this way. Yep, this feels right. Yeah, so Lineon gets Resonance Dragon, which is essentially a race standard. This makes Inlet Pulse Dragon relevant in Lineon deck, and Inlet Pulse was an answer to the problem that Lineon does have, which is missing soul and draw power. Essentially, it just make the deck a lot more playable, a lot scarier. The only problem that the deck does have is that it does rely on that 3 drive check that it can do every turn, because the power gain is not from anywhere else but just the triggers and maybe plus 5k from the back row, which means that the only strong attack that the deck has is just the Vanguard, and it does heavily rely on Rega to get all the power upright and kind of beat the opponent with those 4 attacks. That's why she kind of fall off. I wouldn't call she's fall off, but like she became stronger, kind of short from hitting the A list. Okay, next up we have Ridicule, and there's a lot of them. Okay, I'm gonna speed through some of the deck as much as I can, but I'll talk about first one first, Kyrie. Kyrie is S tier. Okay, here's the thing. I put Kyrie in the high A tier in the previous booster mainly because of the fact that the build need to be built properly to actually pull off the full effects. But after discussing with some of my lyrical friends, Kyrie has a lot more options than I expected, and it is consistently can plus 6 cards into the hand every turn. The only thing that can get around it are just like cards that completely deny grade 1 or higher guarding, like Great Queen Lu cards for example. That's the only counter to the deck right now, and everything else seems to be able to compete. Like, how to put it, the deck in the S tier can kind of beat it into the submission enough for them to having a hand crisis, but that hand crisis gain, that gain that they already get is consistent enough for them to willing to push it to S tier. Also because comparing to the rest of the decks in the A tier, she's kind of a little bit better than all of them in general. So yeah, that's why I'm willing to put it in S tier. Okay, Roro Nero, the deck that has been staying in A tier for quite a while. Okay, I'll put it this way first. The deck that used to be in the A tier from my previous tier list will be in the B tier. So Roro Nero will be here and Alessio as well. They simply fall off because they are just not as strong as the top 10 right now. That's how I feel lah. Clarissa, Lobby. On his best skill still stings, but she does have benefit from Yuiga, so she didn't really drop in ranking too much. Vilista was, I moved her up to C tier, I think. I don't remember.
You're failing on the highest level.
But yeah, her original gameplay has always been problematic. It's just that Yuika really make her play style a little bit better, not enough to break into the B tier, I feel. Like, the deck gameplay is still bad. The fact that you need to force play 2 order every turn is still very painful for her. Herminia Lobby. Yuika helps her, not enough to really push her more than that. 4th tier is high B, I think. I think I put it like here. Her new friend really helps her deck a lot, but not enough to really fight against some of the better decks, I would say. 30 Rose is also high B. I'll put it on the same level as the 4th tier. RNG, that's all it matters. Like, yes, sure, she can drive check a lot, but it's just boiled down to RNG. Lutetia, oh yes, I almost forgot about this deck. You know what? Yeah, she's a A tier contender. Yeah, I'm sorry PBO fans.
Disappointed!
But yeah, she is definitely an A tier material. Like, restanders, 38k columns, consistent column swings without a personal right, and she can play very defensively very well. So yeah, A tier. Okay, Lupa, I still think she's still like a C tier deck. Oh, I remember already. I think I put Regis was here, I think. Yeah, Lupa was okay. It's like discount Magnolia. And I think right now she's missing a few strong cards that really benefit from like the way she play, I think. Like, she need the next recall support to really carry it. Medio is here. Yeah, I think in general most of the really called 3 boost deck list just need one more support that kind of really play into the playstyle that each of the unit play. It's just that for Lutetia, she was lucky that that unit was working very well. Not so much with Lupa and Medio. If you ask me one thing the Medio need, I think I mentioned it in the previous video, a unit that can be treated both trigger and a normal unit when discard. That's all she needs. I feel like that would make her counterblast 2 a little bit more less painful. Okay, next up is Kyoga. Kyoga is here. Yeah. She having Ewa problem, so she just need one more magazine card, and then she should be quite good to play as a B tier deck already. And then the deck that I didn't put in the B tier last time, Harrison. I initially thought Harrison didn't work with Yuika. After playing against it, yes, she does, and she's actually pretty good. Like, she's like better than 4th tier, I feel, because of the fact that she can constantly draw back cards. She draw more so than Kyrie, but Kyrie draw just enough while still retain offensiveness. Harrison does need you to play a little bit more like trickster playstyle to actually play it more consistently. Michio is also in the same tier. Like, to me, the problem with Michio is all boiled down to if you cannot persona right. Okay, McMegane post recording here. I found out later how Nokuno activation effect works, her revives effects, and the brand new order that revolves around Michio, which is pretty damn strong and make the decks a lot better. But during the time I was recording, I wasn't aware of that. So here is where I actually will put the Michio in the rank. It's still a B tier, but I do feel that she is a very strong A contender as well. Like, there are just way too many A rank contender, at least in my opinion. And last but not least, the new right line, Velstra. Veostra is a C tier deck. Veostra was one deck that I have been trying to play, trying to make it work. And this is also a deck that my friend has been trying to play to make it work as well, one of my close friends. And we both of us can agree it's a pretty mid deck because of the fact that all the cards that he have received so far kind of have one purpose only. Like Holio and Isana essentially just triggered product and must be the one who got triggered first. So like even the unit that only do one job also kind of restrict the playstyle a bit. The deck playstyle can be quite predictable because the opponent actually have some knowledge of the cards in your hand, and it is extremely resource heavy. Like yes, he did get a very fantastic counter charger, but that also has its own problem. Like this is one of those decks where Bobermine was like quite a crux of the deck, and some of you might say it feels very similar to Drudgeable, but that is the problem. Drudgeable can reach the full condition very constantly, and it can brought down the defensive if opponent pull it during the Rock or Ghost attack. Veostra has zero way of countering that. The only way he can counter is just -5 one time, -5 two times, and that's about it. The playstyle is pretty fun. It's one of the funnest deck I have played, and this is coming from someone who I've confidently say that I more or less master Veostra playstyle already. It's very mid. Like it's legitimately mid, and it has to see what he will get next because the BTO8 is actually releasing another right line. So yeah, this is the list of the updated list of my BTO7 right line tier list. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with all of this entry on the list? If you guys agree, do leave a like. If you guys have some comment you want to make on, do leave it down in the comments below as well. And yeah, that is all I have for today. I make Vanguard content semi-regularly and stream regularly with some of the games I want to play. So take care and see you guys very soon. This is McMegane signing out.